So I don't think you can understand the enthusiasm a scientist can experience when its idea, which you have to develop for many, many years, suddenly come into fruition. Like that reward is tremendous. And for me, it occurred already at the level of preclinical models, when you test in animals your idea, and wow, already is very, very emotional, very strong. And of course, especially with David, which I have known for many, many years, it was not actually the very first step, because first step is not so nice. Concept, what to...
It doesn't go from 0 to 100.
Correct. Took many months, but for me, the most emotional moment was the day when he walked by the lake. For the first time, we could take, because also we had the authorization to take the technology outside the lab, and he could use fully independently the stimulation, and beautiful Swiss setting. We have a Swiss flag in the back. It was a beautiful day. My daughter was 9 months old. With all what happened before, was very special.
Fantastic. Hello and welcome to another edition of Getting Serious, the podcast of GGBA, the Greater Geneva, Bern area. I'm Woody Wade, your host, and today's episode is going to be a little special because I'm joined not just by one person, but by two people whose work is so closely intertwined that we thought it made sense to introduce them together. So my guests are Professor Grégoire Courtine, who has just told me that I can call him G. Thank you very much. That's very familiar. I guess you could call me W, but that's actually longer than saying Woody. And Professor Jocelyne Bloch, two pioneers working at the intersection of neuroscience, medicine, and engineering here in Lausanne. Together, they head the NeuroRestore Research Center, which is a remarkable collaboration between the EPFL, which is the Federal Institute of Technology here in Lausanne, the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, and the CHUV, which is the teaching hospital here belonging to University of Lausanne. This is a place where scientists and surgeons work side by side to develop technologies that can restore lost neurological function. And we're going to be learning a lot about that in our conversation. Their partnership actually represents something quite rare in science, at least I believe. It's like a seamless integration of laboratory discovery with clinical practice. Professor Courtine, is a neuroscientist and bioengineer, exploring how the nervous system can be reactivated after injury. And Dr. Bloch, Jocelyne, is a neurosurgeon who takes those discoveries, those innovations, into the operating room and implants the technologies that make them work in real life human patients. Together, this team has achieved breakthroughs that once sounded like science fiction, helping people with severe spinal cord injuries stand and walk again using targeted electrical stimulation of the spinal cord and the brain. Their work has even demonstrated a kind of a digital bridge between the brain and the spinal cord, which allows signals from the brain to bypass damaged areas of the nervous system and restore voluntary movement. Their research, as you can probably understand, has captured worldwide attention, not just for the technology itself, but for what it represents, is hope that the possibility that paralysis, maybe Parkinson's disease, stroke, and other neurological conditions might one day be treatable in ways that we wouldn't have even been able to imagine 10 years ago. And fittingly for this podcast, their work also illustrates something Switzerland does extremely well, and that is bringing together precision engineering, medicine, research institutions, academic institutions, and entrepreneurship to translate scientific discoveries into real-world innovation. That's a lot, and I'm not even done yet, because at the end of all that, I just want to say that today we're going to be talking about the journey that you took to make this all happen from the lab and the insights that you gain in the lab to real life-changing therapies, and about what the future of that neurotechnology might look like. So I'd like to welcome both of you very much for joining me today. It's just super to have you here. I guess the logical place to begin is with the sort of the origin story of how you came to work together. But even before that, I think maybe it would be helpful for lay people like myself to understand from you, Jocelyne, what actually happens when someone's spinal cord is injured in this way. Can you just tell us briefly, what does this mean for a person who's had this kind of spinal injury?
So after a spinal cord injury, people have actually the highway between the brain and the legs that is interrupted.
Right.
So they try to...
Or not just the legs, right? Anywhere below.
It depends where the lesion is located, but if we speak about walking, and in general, the lesion is pretty low. If it's out moving the hands, it's higher up. But the principle is the same. The brain is trying to send a command to move the hands or the legs, and depending on where is located the lesion, the command is without response.
Right.
Because there is no ability to receive the response because this highway is interrupted.
Right. Right.
And this is something that has no real treatment. So when it happens, the surgeon in general stabilizes the spinal cord because it's, in general, we have a trauma, severe trauma, a fracture.
Yes.
And then you stabilize this spine and you wait until the spinal cord maybe gives a little sign of recovery, maybe not. And nature will tell us how it goes, and after a few weeks you know how we will evolve, and in general there is no more hope that you regain any voluntary movement if it's not at the beginning after an injury.
Right. I mean, the spinal cord is not something that you can just sew the two ends back together again and everything's fine, right?
Unfortunately not.
Right. And most people who hear about a spinal cord injury just assume that it's permanent, right? They talk about paralysis for the rest of one's life. And you mentioned that maybe there could be some recovery. What was it that made you think originally that maybe there was something that could be done?
It's a bit frustrating to know that you just after an accident, you have your fate is determined.
Yeah.
And for a med student, for the young doctor going into neurosurgery to assist these patients coming to the emergency room and is really frustrating. And when I decided to become a functional neurosurgeon, meaning that I take care of people with chronic pain, epilepsy, or movement disorders with neuromodulation. We put electrodes in the nervous system in order to help them. I knew that there was nothing for this indication. And the dream was to find someone with whom I could work in order to find a way to help these patients.
Right. So you thought there must be something that could be done, right?
Yeah. I mean, you always think dreams, you have dreams, and then to realize them is you need a team.
Right.
Of course, alone I would not have been able to do it.
No, I understand. But then before you actually began the collaboration, though, if you ever expressed to anybody this idea that you'd like to try to solve this problem, were people skeptical, or did they support the idea, or did they just say, come on, this can't be done?
So when I met G, I of course you imagine things, but it's not a project I had. I had other ideas of, cell replacement, neurotrophic factors. I've done a research with Patrick Evischer when I was younger, and there was a lot of neurotrophic factors improving the nerve growth with other factors. But this idea of reestablishing movement with electricity, the way we do it, was more the project G came with and asked me to join, instead of me having the idea and ask him to help me.
Okay, so now let's switch to your origin story. So what made you actually think that you'd like to give this a try originally, before having any evidence that it could actually work?
Well, let's go back a bit further even. My childhood passion for movement, especially climbing. So I'd been spending a lot of time climbing rocks, defying gravity, which provided me a lot of happiness, the movement. There I met someone who was telling me about how the brain is controlling the muscles in order to climb. I found it fascinating. So I decided to focus on neuroscience. Eventually moved to Los Angeles, at UCLA. And Then the laboratory I was working at was also collaborating with the Christopher Reeve Foundation. So Christopher Reeves, I'm a kid from the 80s, so our only superhero was Superman.
Right. Sure.
So if he incarnated for me the transition from a superhero to someone who is fully paralyzed from the neck down.
Yes.
So it was a big inspiration. And focusing in this laboratory with often young male my age who had like sport accidents, seeing them not being able to move compelled me to dedicate my research program to finding therapy to help people regain movement.
Right.
That's where it all started.
Okay.
And being a physicist by training, I did not go through the path of, just you mentioned, growth factor, cell replacement, stem cell, etc. I thought about a more engineering approach,
Right.
which I thought, okay, electricity should reactivate the region of the spinal cord that control leg movement that normally is often below the injury. So it's anatomically intact, but disconnected from the brain. Right. Therefore, does not receive anymore the command from the brain in order to activate the muscle. Right. The idea is simple, reactivate this region with electricity.
Yes, some kind of a bridge to make sure the signal just gets through to the still healthy tissue, right?
Correct. So, I mean, it came on the second step, actually. The very first step was just very simple. Can we reactivate the spinal cord the way the brain would activate it naturally in order to walk? And that was the description here. What we develop in animal models, or rats, is a very precise stimulation of the spinal cord. I like to refer to the stimulation as a precision of the Swiss clockmaker.
Yes.
Right? We introduce space and time in the stimulation. It's not a rude stimulation as many people have been doing for many therapy actually that Jocelyne was always employing for Parkinson, etc. This is one of the most sophisticated ways to stimulate the nervous system, whereby we have multiple trains of stimulation that are synchronized with the desired movement in order to reactivate the paralyzed muscles.
So it started out, if I understand correctly, that this was about stimulating that part of the spinal cord which was still intact but below the injury or below the cut, right? And it was not yet the idea of actually bridging the part coming from the brain, and then there's this gap that could have been bridged. It was just focusing on the part below the injury. Is that right?
Exactly. It all started, I mean, it even started even simpler by stimulating the spinal cord of rats.
Yes.
So, you know, back then in Los Angeles, I'm in front of a rat. There's a Russian scientist, Yuri Petrovich Gerasimenko, very old, creative scientist. We are together in front of the rat. He has been stimulating cat before. We tried to do it in rats, and we improve a lot the approach. And I'm playing with the rat suspended. Imagine like a laboratory, a robotic arm suspending the rat by the trunk, and only the legs are on the treadmill belt.
Yes.
And then you have knobs to deliver electricity at different locations. And I'm playing with these knobs like a pianist, you know? And I'm trying to reproduce the orchestra of walking. It's very crude, but we get this understanding that if we stimulate at different intensity location, we can modulate the activity.
And that worked.
Oh, that was the idea. When I started my lab here in Switzerland, I thought we need to develop this space-time stimulation.
Right.
Do it like
For human patients.
well, for rats first.
Of course.
But very rapidly I thought, well, if we can achieve that, the best would be for the brain to control the stimulation.
Yeah.
We came later,
Right.
later in human after.
And then how did the two of you meet up and decide to work together?
So we met in 2012.
June 27, 2012, she came to my laboratory at EPFL.
At 11:15 in the morning.
No,
Well, the one is late afternoon. So I was busy with surgery in the morning.
Right.
no. The idea of the meeting was mainly there was a convergence of different people who asked us to meet, so I saw the rats walking after a spinal cord injury, and he asked me, "Can we do this in humans?"
Yeah. And that was the aha moment that, well, let's try it. Now,
I've met many scientists because, as I say, we always have the license to kill. The key to the nervous system when there is a matter of implantation to implant a system, the neurosurgeon needs to be contacted. So I've been contacted by many neuroscientists. But with G, I thought, first of all, that I saw the results in animals and I knew that there was a possibility to replicate that in humans because there was a technology that we could use to try to make it, at least initially. And second, I saw, the team, the energy, and the motivation and the track of what was done previously, and how logical the steps were performed.
There's actually a successful record, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and I knew that it was feasible because very often, you have a lot of dreamers among the neuroscientists. They really have ideas that are not feasible, but in that case, I was really motivated to start the journey with these people in 2012.
Yeah. But you need a patient to be sort of patient one, right? I mean, what is that like to find someone who's, I mean, I guess this person needs to have some courage to step up and say, yeah, try it out on me.
So we met in 2012, first patient 2016. So you have to imagine that it took us 4 years to get the authorization to do it, and also to understand which technology we would use to stimulate the spinal cord, knowing that there was nothing available at the time. So we had to repurpose a technology that normally is used to treat chronic pain in order to stimulate the spinal cord for rehabilitation. So it took a lot of time. So you have to find this technology and then to get the authorization from Swiss Medic, Swiss Ethic, and then to find the first patient.
Yeah.
So it took us so many years, but of course the first few patients, and we at the time we were not known for this therapy, so it's harder to get a first patient. So now we get a lot of people asking, but initially it was hard.
Even today, we have a new indication.
Mm-hmm.
The first we like to call test pilot for our technology is always difficult to find. Because the first one, you have to jump into the unknown. And also, often you expect a lot of debug at the beginning, right? You always get better after several patients. So it's hard to find the very first one.
Right.
We are true pioneer,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as we have one publication that is a little bit mediatized, then
everybody. Then we have thousands of requests. We cannot even manage the amount of requests we receive.
Now, you mentioned ethics before. There was an ethical board. How did that go? Walk us through that.
Ethics and Swiss Medic is getting serious in Switzerland. It used to be much easier 20 years back, but now it's quite well organized, but we have to go through 2 regulatory committees.
Mm-hmm.
One is assessing the ethical question, is what we are doing has an ethic? Is it okay? Propose this to a patient.
Right.
And the other, the Swiss Medic is assessing the safety and feasibility.
Right.
So it's a big dossier that you have to prepare, and it takes time.
Yeah.
Talking about 3,000 to 1,000 pages of documentation that you need to assemble before you start the trial.
Right. And your test pilot, knew that he was a test. He or she, I guess, knew that he was going to be a test pilot, right?
Of course, we started with men.
Yeah.
Actually, initially, more men was candidates.
Right.
And he knew. So all our test pilots are still, we say they are more team members than real patients, because we see them quite often still.
Yeah.
And now 10 years, we could actually do a ceremony, because it's this year is the 10th year as well for David.
Excellent. David is a very special story because I actually met him when I was still in Zurich in 2012 when we published the Paralyzed Rat That Walk.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was in Zurich. Then I moved to Switzerland in EPFL. But he always said, I would like to be the first test pilot. So when we were ready in 2016, he actually was not ready because he had the European Championships of rugby in wheelchair.
Oh, okay.
So
priorities.
Priority. So I went to actually the competition, which was in Notville, with my 3-week-old daughter. And he won, so I went to congratulate him with my daughter, and he looked at her in the eyes, and he said, I will walk before you.
Oh, nice.
And you bet that in June 2017, David was walking by the lake here in Ushi, and my daughter was just watching him from the poussette.
Really? Really? And he was walking without any assistance, right?
No assistance.
He's not between parallel
Well,
bodies.
he did have a walker for balance and stimulation to support his step.
Right.
But it was the first step of a person who had been paralyzed for many, many years.
What a great story. Right. So now in your collaboration, is one of you the optimist and the other one the skeptic, or would you say that you're sort of equally attuned to each other in terms of feasibility of going forward into new areas?
Of course, both of us have a different background and aware of different problems
Yes.
that we put on the table, but there is no break. I mean, not one of us is.
You didn't have to convince each other. You actually.
Sometimes yes, but rarely.
I mean, this is maybe a tough question to ask, but do you ever argue about any of the steps that you want to take? No pun intended.
I wouldn't say we argue on this subject.
No,
Not really.
Right.
but also like what we have been able to build with Jocelyne over the year. I mean, it started with my lab, and then she joined as a neurosurgeon, right? We made the first step together. Was so successful that we understood the importance of our synergy, and we wanted to formalize this collaboration. This is why we created NeuroRestore in 2019. And then over the year with Jocelyne, we have built NeuroRestore as we collaborate together. You know, we take all the decisions together almost. We communicate all the time. It's really like two director. And we have organized NeuroRestore in the same way. We have layers of people who trust enormously, who contribute with us to shaping NeuroRestore's decision.
Right.
So it's a very effective environment and very collaborative. It's the spirit of Switzerland, you know?
Sure, exactly.
It's really much in the spirit of Switzerland, the way we proceed with the program.
Well, that's an excellent segue into the next bit that I wanted to talk about, obviously, which is about this collaboration and the wider ecosystem, if you want to call it that in which you have established NeuroRestore and the company that you put together afterwards, Onward, right?
Yeah.
And let me ask, first of all, I mean, you're an engineer and scientist. You're a medical doctor and scientist. What do you think is the difference between that kind of work and being an entrepreneur?
So both of us are very bad at finance.
Okay. All right.
So what is typical with entrepreneur that you push a button and then you're running out of time.
Yes.
Right? In a way, in science, we are allowed to fail. This is a huge advantage we have, right? You know, and so that's why we are often exploring also different routes. Sometimes we fail, so we stop, we do go another direction. It's less allowed, especially if you have a startup. Maybe big corporate, they can explore, as we know, different options. But we as scientists are expected to fail.
And there is a lot of creation, creativity is really welcome in science.
Yeah.
And not when you have a company, you have to deliver something and create it.
The academy is research as us. Our goal is to reach 90% perfection. In the company, it's 100% perfection.
Yeah.
And this last 10%, they cost enormously.
Yes.
They're also costing a lot of boring stuff.
Yeah.
Regulation, rules, ISO norm, etc. It's like...
And in company, you have one idea, you have to focus, we can allow ourselves to be more,
Sometimes the challenge actually with our company Onward is we are so creative and innovative. We create such a pipeline that potentially of ideas they could license and then develop as products. It's too much. They cannot keep up with all what we are doing.
Right. Well, it's interesting to think of science as allowing failure. But business not to allow failure. Maybe that depends a little bit on where you actually set up your business, right? Because you've had a Californian experience, and if you think of the big tech companies, most of them have gone, well, not necessarily the companies, but the entrepreneurs themselves, let's say, have gone through failures in the past, and they've learned from them. But they also get back up on their feet and they find investors. And
in science too, you have failure, you go back on your...
Oh, no, exactly.
But in a company, you have one chance. You cannot have chances if you have one product you have to deliver and you cannot do it, bankrupt, and you start something else.
Yes. Well, that's exactly these entrepreneurs in the tech world, in the Silicon Valley, their idea failed. And then they came back with a new idea, right?
Yeah.
And new investors.
We still have the same, ideas.
Yes.
And we can go a little bit back and forth and right and left.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, the point about failing is that if you learn something from it, then right, that's where the value comes from failing. I once read something was said by some scientist, I can't remember who it was, that science is like building a tower. It starts with arithmetic and goes from there to algebra, and then you end up physics, and then the tower. Everything is built on a foundation that you learned before, and so the objective is to build the tower as high as you possibly can. Right? And he said the business is horizontal. It's more like swimming. And you can swim in any direction you want, but the far horizon is where you see some land. Your objective is to go, in that direction, but you're not necessarily building a tower. I thought that was an interesting way of looking at the difference between these two things. But obviously it's a little oversimplistic. But I think
the idea also of building tower. There's also the additional luxury of academy, which is time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have built this therapy for 30 years.
Right.
We keep improving, understanding better, leveraging, etc., etc. And it's rare in business that you have this luxury of time.
And don't forget in the equation, the hospital and the clinic. It's another way of thinking again.
Right.
It's
right.
So here, you don't have time, you cannot fail.
Well, I would imagine in a hospital, failure is not something that they want to happen at all, ever. Right. But they also have to run the hospital in terms of its operations, right? And so there's somewhere in between science and business, right? Or not even in between, but actually both of them crammed together.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by SwissQuote. In a world of economic uncertainty, having full visibility and control over your finances matters more than ever. SwissQuote is Switzerland's leading digital bank, combining everyday banking with advanced trading and investment solutions. So whether you're investing in stocks, ETFs, crypto, or just looking to actively manage your portfolio, SwissQuote offers powerful tools, transparent pricing, and the security of a fully regulated Swiss bank. Discover more now at swissquote.com. Tell me a little bit more about the process of working with lots of different partners who, obviously, you're not actually running the research center or the business on a day-to-day basis. So you need to find people to do that. But then there are all of these partners that are necessary in order to make an innovation actually realizable, and time is required as well. What kind of challenges did you face, and are you still facing when it comes to making this network of yours actually work productively?
So I think both of us agree on having the best talent around us. Not everybody's like this, so we try to keep the best.
Right.
I think we don't have the ego, or maybe the weakness, I would say, almost, to need to be the smartest in the room. On the contrary, we are seeking very, very smart people, and we really favor talented people, and when we find them, we empower them, and we make sure they stay with us as opposed to leave, which is a completely abnormal model for academy, especially in Switzerland.
Right.
People hate it. Yet, you see the success of NeuroRestore is tremendous, and it's because of the environment that are being created, where excellence is the primary requirement to collaborate with us.
Right.
In each field, it can be, even finance and
Right.
in physiotherapy or...
We want the best people. We want A-grade people, because A-grade people, they hire A-grade people, they create an A-grade environment. And the same thing with our company, Onward. we found a CEO who is amazing, American CEO, very performant, high level, committed, which allow us to act as consultant.
Yeah.
So we don't have to be involved in the day-to-day basis.
Right.
It's the same with all the different activities at NeuroRestore. It's
Right.
very well distributed.
Right. So you have engineering and manufacturing. You've got the research end of everything, and so all of these things have to sort of work, or in an orchestrated way. Then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, both of you were here in Lausanne, so maybe it was an obvious choice to just make that happen here. But did you ever think about setting this up anywhere else?
We did set it up first. The idea of Onward started with when I met Jocelyne. To go to human, we need the technology to be implanted. So we collaborated with Medtronic for the first test concept, but it was obvious that we could not work with them to develop the real product. So we wanted to control our destiny. So actually, Jocelyne said, "Gee, we have to create a company now." I wanted to wait a bit longer to have the proof of concept. She said, "Don't waste our time." So we founded Onward. But then, because it was early and we didn't have the management team, nobody would support us. No people will put any cents on this company yet. Switzerland.
I mean, no investors.
No investors. Zero. So we found a CEO, actually, very experienced, seasoned CEO, but from Holland. So he moved the company in Holland. So for several years, the company had been in Eindhoven as opposed to Lausanne.
Okay. And what happened?
We changed the CEO. First, the door wasn't
Changed him, and the new one is American. And we thought, oh, let's go to America. But no, he's decided to stay in
the new one was very smart. He said, "Where's innovation? Innovation is at NeuroRestore. So I need to put my company as close as possible to the innovation."
Right.
So he's just 1,200 meters away from the ship. That's where he put the company.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Now
Smart.
that has proved to be a good move then, right?
That's right. Very courageous, though. Imagine.
Yes. But I mean, this part of Switzerland, I mean, the entire country, it's in the DNA of the country, this innovation, but especially here with the EPFL just around the corner and the CHUV itself. And yeah, it's...
However, I mean, salaries in Switzerland are high.
Right.
When you compare to the one that were paid for the same function in the Netherlands.
Right.
I think it's also a concern that could be for young companies. It
Yes.
can be a concern.
But the competence is high.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you pay for what you get.
Yeah. And when you actually need to find talent, you're able to find it without going too far afield, right? You don't have to...
The main problem of Switzerland currently is that I don't think there's enough investment.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the limitations for many startups, because you're right, the creativity is very high. And still, I mean, this is the place here in Switzerland where we have the highest investment in all this company. But compared to the US, it's like a fraction.
Well, it's also a question of size, right? Yeah. But I mean,
It is a question of risk adverse.
yeah.
Switzerland, I mean, investors are very risk adverse.
Yes. Yeah. That's also part of the DNA, right?
It's part of the DNA.
Right.
But also probably the weights, the taxes and everything is different in the US and in Switzerland.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But, when you talk about risk averse, I mean, another way of saying that is just conservative, right? And being risk averse when it comes to innovation is, I would understand that the innovator who was looking for financial support would be very frustrated by someone saying, "No, not yet, I need more information, or I need to think about it," or whatever. But on the other hand, when the support actually is decided, then it's like full steam ahead, right? And my impression from speaking with other entrepreneurs is that it might be more difficult at the beginning here to line up the people. There's not a queue of people.
No.
With their checkbooks open. Just how much do you need?
And it takes longer.
It takes longer, but it's like you said, that the durability of the arrangement seems stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
We have not the luxury to experience it.
Okay.
Yeah, and durability is something we need, because when you develop implantable technologies, it takes so long and it costs so much, because as again I said, it has to go through all these regulatory paths, and it's not like developing an application for iPhone or a new knife for the kitchen.
Yeah. Right. Did you expect the worldwide attention that this got when you had your first successes?
You mean for the spinal cord stimulation patient with a spinal cord injury?
Yes.
In a way, yes and no. I would say it's a subject. It's, as we like to say, it's a little bit messianic. When somebody who is paralyzed is able to walk again, it really drives a lot of attention in people's eyes.
Sure.
So, but as much, maybe not. So you said that is really.
Yeah.
You always said that here we see when we'll have this paper published, a lot of people will have a lot of media.
I expected this because of my past experience. So in June 1st, 2012, we published a paper in Science on the paralyzed rat that walk, that ended up on all the media across the planet, including the front page of the New York Times. And he was just a rat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. The New York Times reacted just to the rat.
Correct.
Wow.
In hope for paralysis. Wow. So of course, when David took his first step by the lake, it was like a tsunami across the planet.
Mm-hmm. Has that been difficult for you to handle, or to react to, or to get used to?
You kind of get used to it, no? It's, the few days before and after a publication, when during this embargo time and after that,
right,
is very, very busy. So you always repeat the same things. You have a lot of media. You have to be very reactive, but then it slows down. But again, the people are interested in mobility mainly, because we had other major papers, on reestablishing the blood pressure after a spinal cord injury with again an implant.
Right.
This had less interest. It's probably even more important for the patients, for the quality of life, and the way they would regulate the blood pressure over time and lifelong without rehabilitation.
But it's not very visual, is it?
It was less visual, and it's
more messianic. The last person who has been able to restore movement after paralysis did that 2,000 years ago, and the technology has been lost.
Yes.
Seems impossible.
Right.
This is one of the greatest challenges of humanity.
Yes.
To reverse paralysis.
Right. So let's talk about the future. What kind of indications or applications could you foresee actually applying this technology to?
Spinal cord injury is still our main interest.
Right.
And so we hope that one day we will be able to implant this stimulator very early after a spinal cord injury, in order to be able to use them immediately and to avoid having muscle loss and to completely lose your functions. So that's one option, one very important field we want to work in. We also would like to apply this technology for Parkinson's disease, for people who have trouble, gait problems,
right,
stroke, and paralysis.
Right.
But we would also like to apply other technologies and biological strategies. Maybe you want to speak about that.
I think we set a mission for ourselves, which is to cure paralysis. Mm-hmm. And paralysis means many things. There's the visible consequences of paralysis. You can't move. There are also the invisible consequences, which are your bladder function, your blood pressure, as Jocelyne mentioned. And our mission on Earth is to cure paralysis, all those paralyses, so that we are deploying all this, what we call electroceutical, so based on electricity, but we know it's not enough. This is why in parallel we are doing really detailed self-resolution to understand how to repair the spinal cord with gene therapies, which we hope to combine with all our approaches.
Right.
And this has been quite successful.
Would that ultimately take the place of the electrical stimulation, because it would simply be repaired at the biological level?
You expect both to be synergistic and necessary.
Right.
So you have to realize that after a severe spinal cord injury, there is a major damage. So, and with electrical stimulation, you'll never be able to replace this piece of spinal cord.
Right.
So this other weapon, biology, pushing nerve fibers to grow again through the lesion is also necessary, but to drive them to the right position and having the right function, probably electricity will always be needed, at least during our life experience.
Right.
It may change when...
Well, it's obviously what you're based all of your work on now, right? But if you look 10 years into the future, what would you expect would be different about what you're doing compared to today?
So in 10 years, I hope we'll have a therapy and not experimental therapy, because for now, what we are developing is still at a level of clinical studies and not yet. We don't have yet a treatment that is reimbursed by the insurances.
Oh, I see. Oh, really?
So that's,
okay.
I would say, one of our first aims. That's what I told you. It takes so much time.
Right. Is that's an approval issue or what regulatory?
Many years to have your technology and many years to get it approved for a medical indication.
Okay.
Because you have to go through a huge clinical study.
Yes.
For many months of evaluation to see that it really brings something.
That also means many, many patients, I guess.
Exactly. Right? That we call multicentric.
Yeah.
That is now starting now. We have the first multicentric study for the implantable device that is starting in the USA now. And it will take 2 years. And this is 10 years after having started our company.
Right.
That's why I tell you it's so long. And we're hoping 10 years from now to have a treatment that is validated and used everywhere.
Right.
So that's one of our first mission. But the others are what
we're going to continue innovation. So we expect that in 10 years, we will have patients at the CHUV who will have a spinal cord injury. They will arrive in the operation theater, obviously, with trauma. And in the first few days, you will do injection in the spinal cord for wound repair and regeneration, together putting an implant. And then we'll boost rehabilitation for many months with the hope that eventually we will cure the paralysis that would otherwise occur because of the injury.
And now how does that differ from the way things work today? It's just a question of the timing of when you actually can begin work on the patient, or?
I mean, from today.
I'm just not sure if I'm asking the right question, but what you just described, G, sounds a little bit like it sounds a little bit like what I thought was already happening now, right?
There is nothing happening now, like what he's describing. Now when you have a spinal cord injury, you send us an email, and if you potentially are a candidate to enter a study that has maximum of 10 people that can be included in this study, you are lucky, and that's it.
I understand. Right. So officially, this is still at the testing phase, right? Okay. And what you were talking about before is that you want this to actually be a therapy.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to have these hurdles of you have to get approval, blah blah blah. It's just
So
this. We start.
The good thing about Onward, in parallel to these implantable devices, they worked on a device that is actually there are patches that you put on your skin and that also stimulate the spinal cords.
Really?
With less precision as what we do when you have an implantable device, but still, there was a big study that showed that it was efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the first product that is now sold by Onward and has tremendous success, even if it's not as efficient as what we get with implantable device. But you see here already that when it's a non-implantable technology, it goes much faster.
Right.
And but there is hope, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people interested in using this therapy.
Right, and that's been approved, and so it just basically can be prescribed and sold and commercialized
in any clinic.
That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of success.
Yeah, and are you seeing? I mean, you mentioned the multicentric aspect of the testing, right, and how important that is. Do you see a big difference between the approval processes in different places? I would imagine there must be, right? Because if they were all exactly the same, maybe only one testing center could do the job for everyone, right?
Not that much, actually. So like the pivotal device trial, so the label that we are running now to validate this implant by Onward, is occurring simultaneously in Europe and in the US. And the protocol is the same. Of course, you have little differences in the dossier that you need for the European Union versus in the US, but overall, it becomes more or less coordinated. Maybe it's a bit more complicated currently in Europe because they increase the regulation, but it's not that different.
In Europe, every country has its own regulation. In the US, the advantage, it's a big country with one regulation.
Right.
So when you drive a manual and you start a multicentric, it's easier to start it there.
Right.
And then the approval, if we get the FDA approval, then it's much easier. Then the CE approval in Europe goes faster.
Right.
And so it's the way normally people do.
Yeah. Interesting. Coming back to your mode of collaboration, I'd like to ask each of you to tell me what it is about the other that you find in terms of approach to be very different from the way that you actually approach any kind of a hurdle or an issue, and that you really appreciate having this partner who can complement you in some way. Can you? Am I asking too personal of a question?
No.
Yeah.
Who should start?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. So G certainly has a knowledge of the field that is impressive, has a lot of intuition and vision of what can be done and what cannot, and he's very fast in assessing what can be done and what cannot be done, what is good and what is not good. And he's also very rapid in assessing people, creating teams, and, make it happen, a good maestro in this kind of. I think this is pretty impressive.
And Jocelyne is first she has a medical expertise and she said a license to kill.
Right.
I don't have.
Or you're not going to tell us about the license to kill that you do.
Not only she's a neurosurgeon, but she's a courageous neurosurgeon who is not afraid of innovation, which is not necessarily the rule, especially in Switzerland when we say people tend to be conservative. Jocelyne will be very, I like to use the term in a good way, but aggressive in trying new approaches, new therapies, which is very unique. She also has an incredible strength, which is she knows how to talk to people. And I think 90% of our challenges are not scientific, they're about the people. Different stakeholders within our institution, lab institution, between institution, outside. So many stakeholders we have to convince aligned, and she's extraordinarily good at doing this. I am not. I'm learning from her more and more.
Does that come from being a doctor, bedside manner and all that, or is that just part of your...
I don't know. It's more... Of course, you learn with patients, but also surviving in a hospital.
Sure.
Also, she has a snack for it. She likes it. she likes the win, by convincing people and aligning.
Okay.
Interests.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. But so it's not really a left brain, right brain kind of split between the two. You're right. It's interesting.
We tend to be both, I would say, a right brain. Yeah. Very emotional and driven by achievement.
Yeah. Which is interesting because what you're doing on paper it strikes me as being, it's very detail oriented, and it's the tower building, right?
This is why we build the team that are the foundation.
Yes.
And this was the strength of NeuroRestore, that suddenly, that's when we convinced our institution, we transited from an academic laboratory where you have just seasonal researcher to professional who are with us and are building the foundation.
Yeah.
With regulation, with clinical trial organization, etc. So they compensate for our weaknesses.
But both of us have at least one field in which we are really precise. You are very precise when you know to deliver, when you want to deliver an information, the way you deliver it, the precision of a paper that is written, the figures, the way the graphs are done. He's very, very precise, obsessive. I'm more obsessive with my little surgeries. That's,
Like obsessed.
So both of us still have a kind of field in which we are very precise.
Yeah. Right.
We're not only dreamers.
No. Dreams don't really get you very far. They can maybe set a bit of a fire under you, right, and make you start doing something, and maybe keep you going. But you got to do more than just dream, right? This has been a really interesting conversation. I appreciate the opportunity to learn not only about what you're doing, but also, in terms of what GGBA does and its mission to tell people about the opportunities that Switzerland provides for entrepreneurs and for people who are involved in the kinds of work that you do. So it's been an excellent fit in that sense. But the idea that it's what you do is all about restoring movement and life to people who've really been hurt really badly. That must just be so rewarding. And I just to close, I mean, can you just share with us what it was like when you saw that this actually worked for the first time?
Yeah, each time we see a first patient in a new indication having a good result and the emotion he gets, it's contagious. We so much work with the results is always very rewarding. And when we work together, knowing that we have the ability to really understand the therapy we are developing to make them work in human being, we know that it's the right way, because till now, I would say that everything that we could do in animals before was a success in humans. So, I think all this path, and it's not by chance that it works. It works because of all this understanding and the hard work done before. It's really an enormous reward when it works.
It must be. Gee, what do you think?
So I don't think you can understand the enthusiasm a scientist can experience when its idea, which you have to develop for many, many years, suddenly come into fruition. Like that reward is tremendous. And for me, it occurred already at the level of preclinical models. When you test in animals, your idea, and wow, already it's very, very emotional,
right,
very strong. And of course, especially with David, which I have known for many, many years, it was not actually the very first step, because first step is not so nice. The concept, what to...
It doesn't go from 0 to 100.
Right. It took many months,
right.
But for me, the most emotional moment was the day when you walked by the lake. For the first time, we could take, because also we had the authorization to take the technology outside the lab, and you could use fully independently the stimulation, and a beautiful Swiss city. We have a Swiss flag in the back. It was a beautiful day. My daughter was 9 months old. With all what happened before, was very special.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing the story with us and your perspectives on how Switzerland has actually played kind of a background role in what you're doing.
Switzerland has been an amazing country for us, and it's really a place for innovation, from science to innovation. We have everything we need in a small region with the Swiss quality, which is unique. This is our strength. We don't want to develop large scale. We want to do very precise, perfect, and that's the DNA of Switzerland, and we have the perfect environment to achieve that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jocelyne, G. Really
good continuation. Don't get too serious, though.
Thanks.
Thank you.